everybody, welcome to a Sunday night edition of the Glen Kuiper Show. Hope you're having a good weekend, and we're going to wrap up the weekend with a very busy show. We got a bunch of stuff to cover. We got, we're going to talk about the Giants outfield and what they need to do to improve there. We've talked a lot about that already, but with the winter meetings coming up, we're going to hit on that. We're going to continue our National League West offseason previews. We'll talk about the Dodgers tonight. There was a big trade in Major League Baseball. We'll talk about that. And we'll finish the show with a look at the Niners-Panthers game coming up tomorrow to wrap up Week 12 in the NFL with the major playoff implications surrounding that game. So it's going to be a busy show. I'm looking forward to it. As always, I want comments. I want ideas. I may even ask you guys some questions. Give me some answers. So hit the comments and get in there and hit the likes and hit the subscriptions, and you know the drill. But I'm looking forward to the show. So let's get started, and we'll start with, as we usually do, with some Giants information. We're keeping a really close eye on the Giants coaching staff, Tony Vitello's coaching staff, which is inching closer and closer to becoming a finished product. Earlier this week, Justin Message was announced as the new pitching coach. And just a couple days ago, a new name joined the mix as the Giants have hired Frank Anderson. So Frank Anderson joins Vitello's staff. He'll either be assistant pitching coach, possibly bullpen coach, obviously a heavy pitching background, which we'll talk about. He was the University of Tennessee pitching coach under Vitello for the last 9 years. So there's a significant relationship there from what I have read and what I've heard from some people. Vitello and Anderson, very tight. So Frank Anderson joins the Vitello staff. He was a head coach at Oklahoma State for 9 years, was Frank Anderson. He's now 66 years old. And here's an interesting tidbit. He is the father of Brett Anderson. Remember Brett Anderson, the big left-hander who had a real nice 13-year career in the major leagues? 7 of those years were with the A's. I saw every one of Brett Anderson's starts with the A's, and he could be dominant at times and ended up having a really nice long career. Injuries got him a little bit, but anyways, his father is Frank Anderson, the gentleman that the Giants have hired. So again, he's 66 years old. We don't know if he's going to be the assistant pitching coach or maybe the bullpen coach. All those things will fall into place at some point real soon. But so a new name to learn about, and really the coaching staff for Vitello. And I guess I'm not surprised by this the more you think about it, but it's pretty much all new people with the exception of a couple guys. So maybe not all that surprised. And, outside of Vitello, who we know doesn't have any major league experience, Anderson is the first coaching staff hire that does not have any major league experience as a coach. All the other ones do. Anderson does not. And, of course, the manager does not, as we've talked about that many times. So, anyways, Frank Anderson is aboard. We'll learn more about him as time goes on. So the Giants still need a third base coach, a first base coach, and then whatever Anderson doesn't do, whether it's the bullpen coach or assistant pitching coach, they'll need the other. And then we don't know. There could be a third hitting coach. There could be a third pitching coach. We don't know about that. But there's still a few openings that I'm sure the Giants are working on, and we'll probably hear about those openings real soon. And real soon, Vitello will have his full staff together. But that's the latest update on the San Francisco Giants putting together Tony Vitello's coaching staff. So we wanted to get to that right away. So now let's move on to our next subject, and this is a big one. We're 2 weeks from the winter meetings. Winter meetings are big. A lot of trades, a lot of free agent signings. It'll be in Orlando this year. Last week, we started a little thing that we're doing with the 3 things that we think the Giants need. Okay, they need starting pitching, they need relievers, and they need to figure out their outfield defense. Okay, that's not just me talking. We've heard that from Buster, and we've heard that from Zach and Buster's people. That's what they are looking for come winter meetings. So last week we went through the starting pitchers, some ideas. How do we get them? Trade, free agency. Some of these young guys improve so they can become part of the Giants rotation. Maybe that's a possibility. But we talked about the starting pitching needs and how they could be acquired last week. Tonight, we are going to concentrate on the Giants outfield and how it needs a defensive makeover. Another subject that we've talked about a fair amount. But with the winter meetings coming up and this being a definite need area for the Giants, we're going to kick this around. So the Giants did make a move last week. They picked up an outfielder named of Joey Wiemer from the Marlins. He's 26 years old. He's a right-handed hitter. The reports on him are that he's a very, very good defensive outfielder, can play all three outfield positions, which is important because that means he can play center field. And when I say can play, we're talking about, at a high defensive level. So he is a defense-first outfielder. The offense has not really come into play yet at the big league level. He does have some power, but he is a strikeout guy. So we'll see if he's in the mix. But it certainly looks like it. He does have some Major League Baseball experience. Again, he's a very good defensive outfielder. That's what we're talking about here. So anyways, so he gets added to this outfield mix that the Giants have. And I'm going to go through this list. And I will tell you kind of what I feel about the guys that are on the Giants outfield list that they have in their organization. And is it good enough? Is it good enough? And again, we're concentrating on how can we make the defensive outfield better for the San Francisco Giants. That is our thought process in this segment. Okay, so you got Ramos, you got Jung-Hoo Lee, you got Drew Gilbert. Those are the guys who have been in the big leagues, right? And then and this is the outfield list, and it's a long one. So now you got Wiemer, okay? You got Encarnacion, you got Matos, you got Grant McCray, you got Marco Luciano, you got Wade Meckler. And then they picked up the outfielder from the Dodgers, Justin Dean, a defensive-minded outfielder who actually saw in the World Series. So this is this list, right? The list of Giants outfielders, right? So think about it. Ramos, we know his drill, right? We know the drill. Pretty good offensive player, plays hard, wants to get better, but he's a liability defensively, and that's an issue. It's a big issue. Okay, so it's a tough read with Ramos because we like him and he is a pretty good offensive player with, I think, room to get better, but he's got to get better defensively. We know the situation with him. We know the situation with Jung-Hoo Lee. It's kind of the same thing. He needs to get better defensively. Okay, and the question there is center field his best spot? Does he stay in center field, Jung-Hoo Lee, or is he better at a corner spot? He's probably better at a corner spot. Okay. Again, from a defensive standpoint. And then you have Drew Gilbert. Drew Gilbert showed to me that he looks like he's a well above average defensive outfielder. I think we saw him enough. You can get a pretty good idea about a guy. And it looked like maybe center field was his best spot. But the question there, is he an everyday player? We don't know that. He has not shown that he's absolutely definitely an everyday player. Can he hit left-handed pitching? But again, is center field his best spot? Is he the Giants' best center fielder defensively? So again, they all got questions. And then you move down. You got Wiemer, strong defensively from what we are hearing and what we are told. Gerard Encarnacion, out of options, more of an offensive player. We've seen what he brings to the table. Luis Matos, so much talk around Matos. He's out of options. He's got to stick with the Giants' big league team. Otherwise somebody's going to grab him because the Giants have to place him on waivers and somebody's going to grab him. But there's questions with him. He's a below average defender. Has he been treated fairly? Have the Giants gone about it the right way with him? Probably not. Probably not. But we don't know. We don't. If he was a regular big league outfielder, with a little better defensive skills, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation. He would probably have the right field job, or maybe the center field job, or maybe the left field job next year. But there's question marks surrounding him. I know fans like him. They'd like to see him play a lot. And I like him too, but there are question marks about his game. Okay. Defensively, he doesn't grade well defensively. Grant McCray, good defender. We've seen him hit, strikes out too much. We don't know if he's a big leaguer or not. Marco Luciano, we know the power, strikes out a lot. The reports are not great defensively. Okay. That's just where these guys are at. Wade Meckler, we don't know a lot about Meckler. We don't know if he's a big leaguer. We don't know where his best spot is in the outfield. We don't know if he's an above average defender. We don't know. And Justin Dean, we don't know much about him, except the fact we are told he's an above average defender. But again, so there's really not a guy in this whole big group that you could say is a pretty complete major league player. And when I say complete, meaning an everyday player who is above average offensively and above average defensively. Now, those guys are not easy to find. I'm not saying that they're just growing on trees and they're everywhere. But that's what you need. This is the situation we're talking about. The Giants need players, outfielders, that are well above average defensively, at least in 2 of the 3 spots. I'll give you that, at least in 2 of the 3. Okay. But in this list that I just rattled off, who jumps out at you as a well above average defender? Gilbert? Maybe. They say Weimer's good, but are they going to hit at the big league level? We don't know. Is that a platoon situation? Maybe. Is that the route you want to go? I don't know. Does anybody on that list jump out at you? And remember, we're concentrating on outfield defense, which has to be better for the Giants. It has to be. It's a major issue, folks. Trust me. You cannot underestimate how important defense is at the big league level. Okay, so you have the group, and I'm just not sure that the answer, what we're looking for improvement, I don't know if it's in that group, unfortunately. I don't know if there's an everyday above average defender, everyday player that's an above average defender in that group. That's a concern. Okay. That's a concern. Now, remember when we were talking about the starting pitching and how the Giants could acquire. And one of the things I brought up was improvements internally. These young starting pitchers. Let's go. There's opportunities there. Take the next step. If you can get 3 of those guys to take the next step, you got a couple rotations filled, maybe the Hayden Birdsongs of the world, Carson Wisenhunt. Let's go. There's a spot waiting for you. Okay? That would make life so much easier for the organization, because then you wouldn't have to spend huge in free agency. You wouldn't have to trade. You got guys internally. It's a wonderful thing, right? So my question here is, could there be improvements internally? And when I say that, I'm talking about Ramos and Lee specifically. Could these guys go from below average defenders to above average defenders? Is that possible? It's not easy to do. I think both these guys have the work ethic. And I think both these guys, from everything I've heard and listened about these guys have the proper work ethic to do the work. Okay. But the question is, do they have what it takes, just with natural ability, to make that improvement? It is not easy to go from a below average defender to an above average defender at the big league level. It's very hard to do. I mean, you have to have some instincts. You have to have concentration. Uh, so maybe that's a possibility. That would be a wonderful thing if Elliot Ramos could just and I'm sure he's working on this, and I'm sure Jung Hoo Lee is, but if they could come into camp and where you see, wow, they look better defensively, right? But we don't know if that's going to happen. It's November. The winter meetings are 2 weeks away. I don't think anybody in the Giants organization is going to say, well, maybe Ramos and Lee will come in and have turned themselves into above average defenders. That's not what's going on. So you don't know. Is it possible? Yeah. Would it be great? Yeah. But you don't know. You don't know till you see them run out there in spring training, or you see them run out there opening night and you say, yeah, they look better defensively. Well, that would be great. But we don't know that right now. Okay. So that's an area where you could improve. But that's up to the player. And you hope that he has the natural ability to get to the next level. Not easy to do, folks. It's not easy to do. Now, another thought, too, is, are these guys in the right spots? Is Jung Hoo Lee a center fielder? I personally think he's probably more of a corner outfielder. If the Giants were to sign some big hitting right fielder, that would be great. I think Jung Hoo Lee would do a pretty good job in right field. I do. And is Gilbert your best center fielder? He probably is, of what we know. So are the players in the right positions? And could a position switch improve their defense? Possible. Okay, I mean, that's just another idea, I guess you could say. And then you go into the exciting stuff. Free agents. Okay, well, do you want to dive into the big boys? Do you want to dive into the Kyle Tucker and the Bellinger, who are both very good defenders? They would improve your team defensively and obviously in a huge way offensively. But you're talking $200 million for Bellinger, probably more. You're talking $350 million for Tucker, probably more. I'm probably low. Are you going that route? Okay, you could, maybe you trade, or maybe you sign a lesser free agent like a Harrison Bader. His name's out there because he's a good defender. Is that the route you take? I don't know. Trades, okay. A lot of talk about Stephen Kwan. I've said it. I'm a big fan of Kwan. I think he'd be a terrific spot for the Giants. He's a good defender. He's an excellent defender. So do you go that route? Do you make a significant trade to get a guy? Red Sox got a couple guys you may be able to get. Jarrett Duran. They got the Abreu kid in right field who's won 2 Gold Gloves. Both good defenders and both good hitters. They would help you both ways, but it's a trade. You're going to have to give up a ton to get any one of those guys that I just mentioned. A ton. Do you want to do that route? Do you do something drastic? Do you trade Elliot Ramos? See what you can get for Ramos with the thought of, he's a good offensive player. We need better defense. Okay. And I know I brought that up a couple times. People have said, well, that doesn't make any sense. You're giving away offense. It's like, yeah, but don't underestimate the importance of defense. And I think sometimes defense gets overlooked. It is a huge, huge deal at the major league level. So, yeah, maybe you give up a little offense, but maybe you improve your team by allowing fewer runs, right? I don't know. It's just another route that the Giants could take. Do you go the platoon route? Do you say Weimer, Gilbert, platoon in right field or whatever? I don't know. But what I do think, and we'll move past this, and I will check some of your comments because I know people are interested in this, and it's a good talking point, and that's what we want to do here, is just have good talking points, a good conversation about The Giants had different baseball things going on. I think the Giants are going to make some type of significant outfield transaction, whether it's a free agent, whether it's a trade, whether you get somebody, whether you trade somebody away. I do. I think there's going to be, again, a significant outfield transaction made at some point this offseason. That's my prediction. So I'm going to write that down. We'll see if I'm right or not. I don't think the young guys and the guys that are on that list, the Matos, the McRaes, I don't like to say this, but I don't think they are part of the solution. The solution of we need to significantly improve our outfield defense. I just don't think those guys are part of the solution. Matos is out of options. Luciano's out of options, as I said before. I don't know that they'll be on the team in 2026. So, again, maybe you sacrifice a little offense to improve your defense, and that may be a bigger plus than people think. And I'm always going to feel that way. That defense is incredibly overlooked. Not by organization. Sometimes I think it's overlooked by the fans. I do. But man, oh man, I think it's an area that that needs to be better. That needs to be better. And I'm just throwing out some the different routes that the Giants could take to do this. And we'll see. We'll see what happens. But everybody, I think, is on the same page that it does need to improve. Now, there's going to be a lot of ideas on how to improve it. But that's just what I think. So I want to check with our comments. The comments are coming in. And I know, again, this is a bit of a hot topic. Let's see. Okay. All right. Moving Lee to a corner would do wonders for the team. I would agree with you on that. I would. Initially, I thought Lee looked okay in center field, but then the routes are a little funky sometimes. He doesn't grade great analytically in center field, but I think he's a good athlete, right? And I think he would be good in right field. And I know it's a tough place to play, but he's got good speed. He would really be able to cover some ground out there. I do. I do think it would help the team, and I think it may be a better move for him. The question is left field or right field, and then that's going to depend on what the Giants do. Lee's not going anywhere. Lee is going to be in the outfield next year. It's just a matter of where. That's I think you could say that for sure. Ramos, who knows? The Giants may dangle him out there in a trade. I just don't think that's out of the question. But Lee is going to be here. So it's just a matter of if he does go to a corner, is it left or is it right? I don't know. We'll see. All right, let's check it out here. A lot of talk. We'll stay with the outfield talk. Is Ramos' offense more of an advantage to the team or his defense more of a liability? Well, bake that dough. That's a great question. And I think that's what the Giants have to decide. You and I can decide on our own what we think, but that's probably the decision. But then you have to also take into account, does he have the ability to turn his defensive liability into a defensive plus? Can he do that? And we just don't know. If he could, he would be a hell of a player. He'd be a hell of an all-around player if he was an above-average defender. Okay, maybe he can get there. I don't know. But I think that's probably the question. Is offense more of an advantage to the team or his defense more of a liability? That's for Buster to figure out. But I do think that his defense was a significant liability last year. And I think sometimes it was just concentration, which you can get better at that. But yeah, I think that's probably the best way to look at the question. Is exactly what baked that dose is, and that's what the Giants are going to have to decide. So, all right, good stuff. So we're gonna set that Giants outfield defense aside. Next week we'll take a look at the relievers. Giants are going to need to do that. We'll see how they can get them, who's out there, what do they need. So we'll kind of hit on that next week. And again, this is all leading up to the winter meetings, which are 2 weeks away. So we wanted to cover starting pitchers, outfielders, and then what's out there in the relief market. And we'll cover that next week. So, all right, let's get to our sponsors. Got to do that. As always, the Glen Kuiper Show is brought to you by Tilden Properties, the good folks from Tilden Properties. As an investor, one of the best places to put your money is California's multi-family real estate. By investing with Tilden Properties, you'll see quarterly dividends and equity buildup in the real estate market. They are Bay Area-based, and they are family-owned. Call them at 925-209-8558 or go to their website, tildenproperties.com. We are also brought to you by the Carrick Real Estate Team. Since 1978, the Carrick Real Estate Team has been helping families buy and sell homes across the Bay Area with a legacy of client-first service. Whether you're moving up, downsizing, or making that famous first family home purchase, we've all done it. Trust the Carrick Real Estate Team to guide you home. Call them at 925-548-4132. And we are also brought to you by Valone Insurance. Are you tired of being overcharged for your property insurance? Valone Insurance has multiple options for not just your home, but your landlord property as well. Save big money on your property insurance. Call Kyle or Ron at Valone Insurance, 925-433-8271. All right, so let's move on to our next segment, which this was great today. Did you guys see this? A good old-fashioned hot stove baseball trade, big names involved, and I thought it was great. Texas Rangers trade Marcus Semien to the New York Mets for outfielder Brandon Nimmo. Anybody surprised by this trade? I love baseball when they do this. It's so great. Well, let's look at this, though. A couple of veteran players, both good players, both have big contracts. Marcus Semien, we all know Marcus, one of my favorite guys just in general in baseball. Just one of the nicest, classiest, sharpest people in the game. And yeah, I'm a big fan of Marcus Semien. He's 35 years old now. And think about this from the Mets perspective, and think about it from the Rangers perspective. Got any ideas on why the trade may have been made? But Marcus, 35 years old, he has 3 years left on that huge contract he signed. He signed a 7-year, $175 million deal a while back. So he's got 3 years, $72 million left on the contract. So think about that from a Mets perspective. 3 years, $72 million left. Semien's 35 years old. He had a down year offensively in 2025, and this is a guy who has been a major offensive force really pretty much his entire career. But last year, just 230, 15 homers, 62 RBIs, foot injuries. Injuries are very, very often the reason for guys having bad years. Trust me, folks, it happens all the time. But Marcus has been pretty durable in his career. He's been very durable, actually, but foot injuries last year. But I looked at his numbers from 2021 to 2024, the 4-year stretch before last year. He averaged 30 homers and 110 RBIs a year as a second baseman. And he's just a force. So we'll find out. Was 225 him starting to slow down offensively, or was it the injuries and the Mets hope that he comes back? He's still a very good defensive second baseman. Marcus shortstop with the A's for a long time, but there's still something there. But you're getting just one of one of baseball's great guys and still a really good player. So he will play second base for the New York Mets. So going to the Texas Rangers, Brandon Nimmo. We know Nimmo, left-handed hitter, tough out. It was tough against the Giants this year. He's 32 years old. He has 5 years left on an 8-year, $162 million contract he signed. So there's time left on there. So 5 years left, $102 million left on the contract. That's what the Rangers are taking. So the Rangers are taking on quite a bit, well, not quite a bit, but a fair amount of more money than they had left on the Simeon deal. But Nimmo is 32 years old, so 3 years younger than Simeon. Good year last year, career high 25 home runs, 92 RBIs. His power numbers have gone up significantly as he has gone on in his career. Center fielder initially, but now playing pretty much left field. So he'll play left field for the Texas Rangers. So I thought it was just an interesting trade. One of those fun baseball trades, probably good for both teams. Who knows? But for Texas, you think about Texas. They won a World Series not long ago, right? But Marcus Semien traded, and earlier last week, Adolis Garcia, who was a middle of the order hitter for the Rangers for a 4 or 5 year stretch, put up big numbers. They let him go. They did not tender him a contract. He had 1 year left of arbitration before going to be a free agent. So his ARB number was going to be pretty high. And the Rangers tried to trade him, no takers, and they did not tender him a contract. So you think about that, like this is two guys, Marcus Semien and Adolis Garcia, who were major offensive factors for the Texas Rangers team that won the World Series not long, a couple years ago. And now both of them are gone. And for the Mets, they'll get Francisco Lindor and Marcus Semien, middle of their lineup, middle of the diamond, I should say, shortstop, second base. So they'll be strong up the middle defensively. So that'll be interesting to see how the Mets go about this. But they're always going to be making deals. But there was talk that Nimmo was available. So they got a good second baseman. The Rangers got a younger and still very, very productive outfielder. So really, it's an interesting trade, I thought, and a trade that will probably turn out to be pretty good for both teams. I think that's probably a fair way to look at it. So big trade. There'll be a lot more to come, but I love it. I love when teams start swapping. Man, it's exciting. We had a good trade not long ago with Taylor Ward going from the Angels to the Orioles for Grayson Rodriguez. This is a big power hitter. Ward, good young pitcher, in Rodriguez. So that's a significant deal. Angels and the Orioles, they hooked up on that earlier this week. So anyways, let's move on to our next segment as what we've done leading up to the winter meetings 2 weeks away. We've done a little National League West off-season preview. We did the Diamondbacks 2 weeks ago. We did the Padres last week. And tonight we're going to start the week off with a little Dodgers off-season preview. Second straight World Series title, third in the last 6 years. We know the drill. Let's get into what they need, if anything, and how they're going to go about it. And maybe get your thoughts on this because, they're a loaded team, but they are losing some people, and they're going to make moves. We know that. But free agents, they lose Michael Conforto, no loss there. Kirby Yates, no loss there. He was hurt a lot. Of course, Kershaw's retired. Kike Hernandez, pretty good player. Kopech, a reliever. I think Miguel Rojas, who hit the big home run for the Dodgers in the World Series, I think he's retiring. Did I see that correctly? And I would listen. I wouldn't be surprised if they bring back Kike Hernandez. We don't know. Again, Conforto. Michael Conforto. And I don't want this to sound like criticism. It's reality. I say good for him. But the last 3 years, 2 with the Giants, 1 with the Dodgers, Michael Conforto made $53 million. $53 million in the last 3 years. He wins the the best businessman award in baseball. So, hey, good for Michael Conforto. So, anyways, what do the Dodgers need? Well, their infield, Muncy, he's going to play third. Betts is going to play short. Freeman's going to play first. Edman can play second or center field. So maybe an opening at second. That group's not getting any younger. Muncy's 35. He'll be a free agent after next year. Betts is 33, but he's signed for a long time yet. Freeman's 36. So those guys, I mean, they're getting up in age a little bit, but they're all still very, very productive players. Catchers, Will Smith, he's one of the best. In the outfield, you got Teoscar Hernandez, not a great defender, but a really, really good offensive player. He's going to be out there because Ohtani's going to DH. Pages, the center fielder, is he their keeper? Is he their center field guy? Would they package him in a trade? I don't know, but a pretty good young player. He's not costing them anything. So then you got probably right field. And the thing there is Edman can play outfield or second base. So if you wanted to get an outfielder, Edman could play second. If you wanted to get a second baseman, you could play Edman in the outfield. So, I mean, they have quite a bit of versatility there. So basically, maybe an infielder and maybe an outfielder, they're going to get one of them. And it's going to be a big name guy. I've said it 20 times on this show. I'll say it again. Okay. Pitching wise, they're fine. Ohtani, Snell, Yamamoto, Glasnow. Listen. And they got young guys lined up too. That's the thing. They got Sheehan and Wroblewski and Gavin Stone. They got young guys that are ready to pitch. So they're fine in the rotation. Although, don't be surprised. Don't be surprised. We'll get to that in a minute. Bullpen. Remember, they gave Tanner Scott the big contract last year. They got Trinan. They got Vesia. They got Sasaki, who he may be in the rotation next year. You can't forget about him. So they have plenty. But so what will they do, I guess, is what we're doing since we're kind of previewing it. Well, like I said, they're going to get an outfielder or a second baseman or infield. They're going to get something there, and they're going to spend big. I've said it all along. They're going to make a big splash because that's what they do, because they can and they don't care. It's going to be Tucker. It's going to be Bellinger. It's going to be Bichette. It's going to be one of the big name guys. I'm convinced of that. Or they may make a big trade and get an outfielder like we talked about. Maybe Kwan. Maybe Kwan, or maybe the kids that we talked about from Boston. They're going to find a big name player, whether it be free agency or trades. I'm absolutely convinced of that. They're going to sign a reliever, because there's some pretty good relievers out there. The reliever list is very long. And then, their bullpen was a little shaky last year, even though the starters were so terrific in the World Series. But they're going to need a reliever or two. So they will go out and get a reliever or two. And here's what I think is going to happen with them. They will make a run at Tarek Skubal. I really honestly believe that. I didn't say they were going to get him, but they will make a run at him because they can put together a package as good as any other team could put together a trade package to the Tigers. Doesn't mean the Tigers will take it, but I think they're going to make a run at him. I really do. I mean, you got young pitchers you can give them. I mean, if you're the Tigers, the only way you give up Skubal, you need people that can play right away. You need two young starters that can go right into the rotation. The Dodgers got a whole bunch of really good young outfield prospects that are getting close to the major leagues. They're loaded in outfield prospects out of the Dodgers. I mean, they have a terrific minor league system. They can put together a package. And I think they're going to do it. I think they're going to make a run at him. I don't know that they'll get him. We may not know how close they get to getting him, but that is something I'm quite sure of, that they are going to try to do that. And I brought up some interesting numbers because this is just, it's I don't know. It doesn't bother me that much, but I know it bothers a lot of baseball people. The payroll tax penalty. Okay, that's that competitive balance tax that if you go over a certain threshold with your payroll, you get charged a tax. If you go over the next level, it's another tax. If you do it 2-3 years in a row, the percentage adds up. Anyways, so in 2024, it's basically a penalty if your payroll's too high. So these teams like the Mets and Dodgers, it just becomes we're gonna pay it. It doesn't matter. In 2024, they paid $103 million in luxury tax penalties. $103 million. It doesn't matter to them. It's basically, hey, our payroll's $300 million. We're going to pay the tax. They go in saying it's $400 million. Payroll plus whatever we're going to pay on the tax. This past year, 2025, they are estimated that the number isn't for sure yet. That doesn't come out till, I'm not sure when the Major League Baseball puts out the number, but it's estimated that the payroll tax penalty the Dodgers will pay this year will be right around $143 million. Penalty. In 2025, 13 teams had a payroll under $143 million. 13 teams, lower payroll than what the Dodgers are projected to pay in penalties for going over the competitive balance tax. Is that unbelievable? It just becomes part of their bills. Hey, we're going to have a $300 million payroll, $350 million payroll, whatever, and we're going to pay $140 million in tax penalty. That's fine, whatever. So it's just the way it is. Like it, dislike it. It's just the way it is. But that's sort of the Dodger preview in the offseason, what they're going to do, what I think they're going to do. And let's see what happens in the next couple weeks leading up to the winter meetings. And then things get real hot. But they'll be active as always. And, they'll be doing their thing. And keep an eye on it. All right, let's get some comments on the last couple segments. All right. Give me a little time here. Let's see. Hold on. Stay with me here. All right, Big Dad. Knowing Stephen Cohen, he'll probably back up the Brinks truck for a star outfielder. Yeah, well, they would need an outfielder now. I mean, they're no different than the Dodgers. I mean, they will pay to get somebody, and I don't think there's any doubt that they will sign somebody big. Could be a pitcher, and I don't have any doubt that they will make a significant run at Scooble. No question about it. They have young pitching that you could make a deal for. So they'll be active and they'll be fun to watch as well. I think it's fun. I do, because everybody sort of watches what the big spending teams do, and yeah, it can get frustrating sometimes, but I mean, that's just the way it is. Michael Conforto and Blake Snell are nothing but traitors. They left us to go to LA. I can't believe Conforto didn't get DFA'd midseason. Well, I think they may have thought about it. The problem with that is he had good series against the Giants, right? If you remember correctly, he had actually really good series against the Giants. All right, Dodger fan said, when the Dodgers come to town, it's bye-bye, baby. You're cold. Oh, man. Hey, you got to give them credit. They're a really good team. Dodgers will go buck wild ahead of the potential strike. Yeah, that's probably an issue too. Let's see. Let's look, see if we got anything else for everybody. Nope. All right. Let's go on to what is our final segment of the show. Final segment of the show. Hold on. Let me get rid of this one. All right. I'm a whiz at this, aren't I? Yeah, this is going to be fun though. I want to get into the NFL Week 12, and it's a Monday night matchup down in Santa Clara. Panthers Niners. Did you think anything of this game? Let's say 3-4 weeks ago. Probably not. Probably not. But now all of a sudden, if you look at this whole thing, NFC crazy, it's a really, really important game in the NFC playoff picture. It's really, really important. And I just, I saw the game on the schedule and didn't think much of it because the Panthers got off to kind of a slow start, but now they're all of a sudden have become interesting and they're in the mix. Panthers, Niners. Niners are 7-4. Panthers are 6-5. One game separates those two. And you look at these two teams, we know the drill about the Niners. Good offensive team, good passing team. Purdy's back. He looked great in his return against Arizona. The Niners put up 41 on a bad Cardinals team. Panthers defensively, kind of middle of the road, all crossed, but been playing better. Offensively, the Panthers, a pretty good rushing team. They got a good running back. We'll talk about him. Not great passing, just as far as passing yards per game. So they're not a great offense. Niners defense has not been great this year. So it's going to be interesting. But the Panthers are only averaging just a shade under 19 points a game, which is a pretty low number. I mean, it's near the bottom of the NFL. So can they come in here and get anything going? We'll find out. But some people to watch. Bryce Young, this is his third year now, the quarterback. Remember, he was the number one pick in the draft. He's gotten a little bit better each year, okay? And he's coming off a huge game. The best game of his career against Atlanta in an overtime win last week. He threw for 448 yards and 3 touchdowns. Again, best game of his career. Can he carry that over? Who knows? We don't know. But this is, I just kind of wanted to give everybody a little idea of what the Niners will be up against. Carolina has a terrific running back. His name is Rico Dowdle, excuse me. He's been in the league for a while. He was with the Cowboys for a while. Didn't play a lot early. Then last year he had a pretty good year, and he hooked up with the Panthers this year, and he's been great. He's fourth in the NFL in rushing yards. He's closing in on 1,000 yards. He's good. Rico Dowdle is his name. So keep an eye on him. And they got the rookie wide receiver who's very good. Teteroa McMillan. Remember, he was a first-round draft pick last year. Very high pick, actually. I think he was a top 10 pick. He's a very, very good-looking young receiver. So those are kind of the offensive threats that the Niners will have to slow down, when the Panthers and the Niners score off tomorrow night. But it's interesting to me that this game has become such an important game in this NFC. So what happened today in the NFC, and we like to keep an eye on the NFC West for obvious reasons. Seahawks win. They beat the Titans 30-24. So the Seahawks are now 8-3. They are a really, really good all-around football team. They've won 5 of their last 6. And the only loss in that stretch was a 2-point loss to the Rams. And those two teams will play again in a couple weeks. Seahawks will host the Vikings next week, looking ahead for them. And remember, the Seahawks will be at the Niners the last game of the year. It's probably going to mean something. It could be a playoff spot. It could be a wild card spot, a seeding spot. Who knows? But anyway, Seahawks win today. And I wanted to mention the young man up there, the wide receiver, who's having a phenomenal year. Jackson Smith and Jigba, okay? And we know about him. We've seen him against the Niners. This is his third year now, and he has progressively gotten better, but he is going off this year. And today, 8 catches, 167 yards receiving, and 2 touchdowns. So listen to these numbers now. On the year, and remember, they've played, 11 games. So they have 6 games left, okay? He has 80 catches for 1,313 yards in 11 games. That's 119 receiving yards per game is what he is averaging, okay? Why is that important? The NFL record for receiving yards in a season was set by Calvin Johnson in 2012, 1,964 yards. No NFL receiver has ever had 2,000 receiving yards in a season. Well, right now, if you want to do the on pace for, Njigba is on pace for 2,024 receiving yards. So he has a chance, if he stays healthy, to set the NFL record for receiving yards in a season. How about that? 6 games left. He's averaging 119 yards per game receiving. He has a chance, and he's on pace to go over 2,000 and set the record. Something to watch for. We don't have to cheer for the Seahawks, but that's a pretty cool record if you think about all the great receivers. I mean, there's just lists of them. And this young man, in just his 3rd year out of Ohio State, has a chance to set that record. So that's something I'm going to watch for. I'm going to keep an eye on that. But I just thought that was very, very interesting that he has a legitimate chance to do this. The Rams stay hot. The Rams beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That was the Sunday night game. I didn't quite get a final on that, but it was 34-7 or something like that. It wasn't even close. So the Rams are smoking hot. The Rams have now won 6 in a row. They're 9-2, and the Buccaneers have lost 4 out of 5, and the Buccaneers are now 6-5. So back to Carolina. Carolina and Tampa Bay are now tied for first place in the NFC South. So again, Carolina's just right in this whole thing, and they still have 2 games left against Tampa Bay. So who would have thunk it, right? All of a sudden, the Panthers are in the mix. They're tied for first place. I think at this point right now, Tampa Bay has the tiebreaker, but that's why this is such a huge game tomorrow night with the Niners and the Panthers. So NFC West has the Rams 9-2, Seahawks 8-3, Niners 7-4, Arizona's 3-8. They're obviously done. So that's the lineup. And you start thinking about Seahawks and Niners, and you start thinking about wild card spots, and you guys think about other teams. You think of that at the NFC North, where you got the Packers and the Bears and the Lions. Who's going to be a wild card team for the Mac? Are they going to get 2? So it's all starting to get a little congested now. In the playoff picture now in the NFC, updated, okay, which we're going to do this at the end of each week as well, because it just kind of wants you to know where the Niners sit in this whole scrum for seedings. But the number 1 seed right now in the NFC is the Rams at 9-2. The Eagles lost to the Cowboys. Eagles still hold the number 2 seed at 8-3. The Bears won again. They're 8-3. They're the number 3 seed. But remember, the Bears still have to play the Lions one more time, and they have to play the Packers twice. So the Bears are playing great. Give them credit, but they're going to have their hands full finishing this thing out. The number 4 seed is still Tampa Bay. As I said, they hold the tiebreaker over Carolina, but they're both tied with a 6-5 record. So that brings us to the wild card teams, which is the Seahawks at 8-3. They're the number 1 wild card team, the 5th seed. The Packers won again today. They're 7-3-1. They've now won a couple games in a row. So they're the number 2 wild card team and the 6th seed. And then the Niners are still holding on to that 3rd wild card and the 7th seed. They are at 7-4, same record as the Lions. But again, still early with the tiebreakers, but the Niners have the tiebreaker over the Lions. Same record, but right now, the 49ers hold the final wild card spot. So that's where it goes right there. And so the Niners, so tomorrow night, Panthers, then they're at the Browns, then a bye week, home to the Titans, at the Colts on a Monday night, home to the Bears, home to Seattle. So that is what is left for the San Francisco 49ers. So it's going to be a fun game tomorrow night. Looking forward to watching it. And hopefully it's nice weather. And it'll be the Niners and the Carolina Panthers in a huge game with postseason ramifications. So anyways, that's our NFL segment. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm trying to do one of those once a week. Again, it's fun. I love the NFL, and we'll always keep an eye on where the Niners are at in this whole playoff picture. So, all right, let's check in one last time with some comments. All right. Yeah, Conforto, we're talking about Micro, somehow turned into prime Barry Bonds once he was playing against the Giants. Yes, he did. He absolutely did. I mean, it was shocking. Go Niners. Indeed, that's a big one tomorrow night. Big game now looking at the schedule. Yeah, it is. And you just didn't see it coming. Did not see it coming. Baked that Dough says, take the over on everything CMC does. He's no doubt had this game circled. Yeah, of course. McCaffrey, a lot of years with the Panthers, was their first-round draft pick, traded to the Niners. He's going to want to go off, but he kind of goes off every week. So he just wants to do his normal thing, CMC. But who doesn't love watching that guy? Robert Saleh has been keeping the defense together as best as possible. Injuries aside, but he sure has. And they just, I mean, there's a new injury. There's really at least one new injury every week for the Niners. And the fact that they are 7-4 and still playing pretty good football says a lot. And I do think the players deserve a lot of credit, but I do think that the coaching staff has done a hell of a job just kind of holding things together. Not an easy job, but that's usually the sign of a good head coach and a good coaching staff. Can't believe Dallas came back and beat Philly. Philly was up 21-0 on the Cowboys in Dallas. And the Cowboys came roaring back. That's a big win for them. It got them back to 500. And really, if they lose that game, they're probably out of the playoff picture. But they win, so they're 5-1. They got a tie with Green Bay. So they're really like a game and a half out of that final wild card spot. So they're still in this whole thing. Fun stuff. Bucks got smoked. Yeah, they did. The Bucks are just not in. And Mayfield didn't play in the second half because he got hurt. So all of a sudden, they're in big trouble. They are in big trouble. So awesome comments from everybody tonight, and I appreciate that as always. Want to let you know we'll be back on Tuesday night, and we're going to go at 7 o'clock on Tuesday night for the Glen Kuiper Show. Former Giant JT Snow is going to join us. Great guest, good guy, and he's going to tell us about his new adventure. He's got a new job, and it's going to be fun to talk to him about it. So JT Snow will be my guest. Make sure you join us Tuesday night at 7 o'clock again for the Glen Kuiper Show. So that's going to do it for tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. Tried to cover everything in the world of sports, keeping it Bay Area. As we are always brought to you by the Carrick Real Estate Team. Contact Mike Carrick today for a free home sale or purchase consultation. Call Mike at 925-548-4132. Go to the website, carrickteam.com. That is the Carrick Real Estate Team. They've been doing business in the Bay Area since 1978. We're also brought to you by the good folks at Tilden Properties, Bay Area-based family-owned. Tilden Properties has been building investment wealth for their clients since 2008. They do that by purchasing California's multi-family real estate. Dive into that. They take great care of their clients. Become an investor. They are always looking for investors. Call them at 925-209-8558. And we're also brought to you by Valone Insurance. Valone Insurance has multiple options for your home and landlord property. Save big money on your property insurance. Call Kyle or Ron at 925-433-8271. That is Valone Insurance. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the show. Keep subscribing. We're closing in now on 11,000 subscribers, and we're going to keep coming your way. In fact, again, Tuesday night, JT Snow, and then we're going to take a little time off for Thanksgiving. But we'll be back next week as we get close to the winter meetings. Then when the winter meetings come, we'll have a show every night that the winter meetings are active, and that's 4 straight nights. So that'll be baseball at its finest, and the rumors will be out. See how the Giants are doing, see if they get what they need, but all good stuff. So thanks again for joining us. Keep on watching the Glen Kuiper Show. You guys have been awesome. We'll see you Tuesday night with JT Snow. Have a good night, everybody.